I could start a channel on just blessings, infinite being. Did you know you are made of stardust? You are made of the same things that the universe was constructed out of. And because of that, you are one with the universe and you are timeless and eternal. And quantum physics tells us that everything is empty because on the subatomic level, it's mostly empty space. So you're mostly empty space, but that means you're also infinite love. You could just go on, and this could be my whole shtick. And honestly, there's so many channels on the internet that are extremely popular, and they just say kind of empty-headed stuff that, in my opinion, is just kind of like a political slogan. It's something to just stimulate someone's emotions, so it creates this weird masturbatory kind of exploitive emotional dynamic where it's like person A putting out the information is almost just like a psychic dildo for the person who's getting the emotional hit from it, where they're coming out saying, Mom, blessings, namaste, infinite light beings. I am coming you today on 11/11/11/11 at the Arcturian, blah, blah, blah. And Jesus loves you, and Buddha is your infinite love, compassion, nature, and everything is perfect, and you don't have to do anything. You're perfect the way you are. There's no such thing as a mistake, and mistakes are your biggest teachers. And the one true way is the one way that we all walk in our own subjective experience, which all leads us up the same mountain. And our infinite Buddha nature is our absolute birthright, and there's nothing we have to do because we're already perfect. But at the same time, you're a piece of shit, and you feel horrible, and everyone hates you. And buy my course, and I'll teach you how to not hate yourself and not be a piece of shit. But the universe loves you, and everything's infinite love and compassion, Buddha nature, and it's all actually quite simple. And the real essence of teachings can't be put into words, but come listen to my lecture where I'm going to tell you all my teachings that can't be put into words. And if I'm super creepy, I'll just stare at you for hours on end without breaking eye contact and be super creepy because I'm so spiritual and present in the moment. Or if I'm even more of a dickhead, I'll ask you questions repeatedly that make you uncomfortable because you're on the spot in front of a bunch of other people and you've never actually thought about anything and you're just here for an emotional reaction. So I'm going to ask you a basic trivial question and you're going to cry because you've never been the center of attention and you feel special because someone that you think is a higher value person gave you attention in front of a group of people, so you feel special and you feel like you're supposed to cry, so you cry and everyone pats you on the back and they reward you. Who are you really? Who is the person that feels the pain? Who is the person that's depressed? Tell me, who is the person? How do you know you're that person? Who would you be if you didn't have that feeling? Who would you be if you weren't who you were? Who would you be if you weren't alive in this moment, but you were alive in a different moment? Who is the person asking the question? Who is the person having the feelings? What is the feeling? Just say all this like stupid, trivial shit, and people are like, oh my God, this person must be an enlightened master. Jeez Louise. That's kind of why I don't really do those kinds of videos, because I don't really think it does that much for people. Ethically speaking, I don't really feel good about it, even though it'd be very profitable, very lucrative, very absolutely easy to do. As someone who's spent a decade or more studying cult dynamics and dynamics of groups and religions and spiritual traditions, could very easily piece together some nonsense, because all it really requires is you're slightly more intelligent than the people that follow you, and you have more charisma, and you can always just kind of dance around and say vague stuff that sounds cool, that makes people project their emotions, and you do that, you give them some emotional catharsis, and then boom, you got customers for life. I mean, this is really not a complicated script, and it's not a complicated business strategy, but it's ultimately what a lot of people are doing, a lot of people fall into, and that's fine if they want to do it. When in actuality, for my life, it's never really been a personal matter. Any group I've ever been in, it's just, let me understand it, let me understand the dynamics, let me understand what's going on here. Why are people here? Are people actually accomplishing the goals that they say they all want to accomplish for why they are here? And if they're not, then let me understand why, so that I can either not do what they're doing, or I can try to fill in the gaps and find out how to do it myself, which is, I guess, obvious. If you're playing sports, you're on a team, you're doing something, the metrics, the markers, the indicators of success are pretty obvious, and it's a lot of scrutiny, and you know where you are. Whereas people like self-help and spirituality because there's no scrutiny, there's no external markers, there's no units of measure, there's no tests, there's no nothing. So people can just go spin out into their own whatever, which is cool. I have no problem with people doing that. And I don't think anyone's a bad person. I don't think I'm better than anyone else. I don't think I'm worse than anyone else because I think in a human level, we're all equally irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's just as humans, there's been a lot of us and there's going to be a lot more of us. So each one of us isn't necessarily even that important. And I don't necessarily think I'm that important or that interesting or different or unique or any of those things. I used to, and it made me feel pretty miserable. It's like, oh, I need to feel all these things, in my early 20s. And then I realized that's just a lifetime recipe for feeling like shit. So actually maybe look at the situation more for what it is. Have a little bit of humility and realize in the grand scheme of things, I'm really not that important. And my opinions are not that important. Maybe they're important to me in this moment or help me to solve a problem or do something. But really in the large grand scheme of things, pretty insignificant, pretty trivial. Which is why I tend to try to approach serious subjects with a degree of levity and a degree of a sense of humor and a degree of kind of apathy and flippancy that I think maybe rubs some people the wrong way because they take everything so seriously because they're maybe so wound up so tightly. And it's kind of like, really, dude, this is your life. Like, you're going to die someday. We're all going to die someday. And when you're laying there reflecting on your life, is this shit really going to be something you're going to think about? Man, I should have been more mindfulness. I should have whatever. No, you're probably going to be like, man, I should have been more connected with these people. The regrets that people are going to have is oftentimes going to be in relation to other people or relation to their expression or of something.